awaken. Oh, hell no! Yo, they were both awakened. It's time for me to run. Hey guys, this is Adam, and today I am going to provide you guys with a video on the differences between the races in VV Ultimatum. I know I've seen a lot of videos out there essentially explaining the differences, but I wanted to try to go into as much depth as I can so you guys can really understand which races you may want to play and which ones may suit your playstyle. Without further ado, let's start with Soul Reaper. Alright, so starting with Soul Reaper, Soul Reapers have 9 unique weapons. 5 of them are shared with the other 3 races. One of them is unique, which is the Tonto. You have 2 shared with Hollow and arrancar, which is Great Axe and Scythe. And you have 1 shared with Quincy, which is just the club. And I'll have the images of the stats for each weapon on the screen. Alright, so that is what the Soul Reapers get for their weapons. Another unique thing about Soul Reaper weapons is the fact that Soul Reaper weapons they have skins, you know, so I can show you guys differences. Like, for example, the Odachi. Odachi has many different skins, and, you know, as you roll onto them, you have a chance of getting a different skin every single time. Next up for Soul Reapers would be their base and how their bases differ from the other races. So Soul Reapers, they have access to both of their elemental skills in base without their transformations. And this, you know, this could be useful for a lot of different people because you have, you know, more mix-up essentially, and I think mix-up in this game is extremely essential. Soul Reapers also have access to Zanpakuto parts, and they basically help with melee-based passives. Soul Reapers also have access to, or they used to have access to, faction passives, and these faction passes, like for example faction 12, are, you know, they can be useful. Like, I've seen one, and I'll put it up on the screen, that it basically gives you another node which would help with, you know, gaining more passes with different charms and stuff like that. So, you know, it has a lot of variety, and I think that is the strong suit for Soul Reapers. And that is what we have for the base. For transformations, Soul Reaper has the weakest transformation out of all 3 of the races. Soul Reaper has only 113 output whenever they transform, and if you guys didn't know what output did, output basically is like your damage, your overall output damage, and your overall defense get increased when you transform, or whenever your output is increased. And they also get a small HP pack, which really isn't anything compared to what the other races get. When it comes to hollows, many of you guys know you start off as a fishbone, you know, you go to the Menos, then you go to the Ajukas, and if you choose to take off your mask within this point, you're only going to get 3 hollow traits. I don't see why you would, unless you just don't know or you've not watched the anime. But once you get to Vasto Lorde, you are able to now finally unlock 4 traits, and this is kind of important, right? So I kind of split up the way we can categorize the hollow side of things into, like, you know, we have Vasto Lordes and we also have Vasto Cars. So for Vasto Lorde, if you choose to stay Vasto Lorde, the benefit to you is that you constantly have all 4 of your traits active at all times. The weakness, or the con for that, would be that you do not have access to like a transformation or a res skill or any elemental skills, if you want to identify it like that. You also have access to the entirety of the Hakata tree and the Keto tree for arrancar, and that's pretty much it. You know, some people they actually like this playstyle. Others, you know, majority of the game is probably going to be a Vastocar. And for Vastocar, we can now go into their weapons. So Vastocars, they have 9 weapons, just like Soul Reaper, but this time they actually get 2 unique weapons. So the 2 unique weapons are Minigun and Lance. As for the base for arrancars, they have access to their res weapons and also Zanpakuto parts, just like Soul Reapers. In their transformations, they get an output of 113%, just like Soul Reapers, but additionally, they get hollow traits, which is giving them a huge edge over a lot of the other races in this game. Last but not least, we have Quincy's. When it comes to their weapons, they have they have a total of 8, 2 of them being unique, which are the rapier and the rifle. But the thing is with Quincy's is that they can actually evolve their weapons and get new crits on their weapons, and you know, it doesn't do anything else to the base stats or anything, but if you're like not used to fighting a specific crit, like, you know, it kind of just mixes you up a lot more, and it, you know, does a little bit, the crit does more damage, I'm pretty sure. But other than that, you know, it's basically the regular weapon. It's just kind of unique to Quincy's. When it comes to their base, they have a couple of things that come with them. Just like arrancars, they can only use one like elemental ability in their base, but you know, you also have to take into consideration they have their weapon evolution, and then they also have a mini buff that they get whenever their blade caught. And I know it's kind of weird to think about, but that's just something that they get. You know, just keep buffing Quincy's, right? And last part of Quincy's is their transformation. For their transformations, they have kind of like a better base stat buff, so their Let's Still essentially gives them 115% instead of 113%, which, you know, obviously that just puts Soul Reaper at the bottom of the list when it comes to their transformation. But it doesn't mean that they're better than arrancar, because arrancars, as you guys know, have their traits, and that's just really, really good. Yep, and that's all the information I have for you guys. Thanks for making it through the video. If you guys liked the video, please like, subscribe, share it to a friend, and that's pretty much all I got. Peace.